that research for end user. So what is engineering, guys? Engineering is an implementation of research for end user, for easement, for making sure that you are not having too much of a trouble in a day-to-day activity, or for making sure that something which is big has to be created, and an engineer is going to convert that research into an implementation. So as simple as that. Don't get confused with research in engineering. So research in engineering is still engineering, whereas research, when I say research, let's say physics, basic physics. So it can be electromagnetism, it can be something which is bipolarity. All these things are research activities. Now, the important thing is research has unlimited funding most of the time. Okay. And it is not having a timeline. That means it is not having a, in layman's term, we call it as deadline. We don't have anything which is a deadline or a date or a delivery date. Research is a continuous activity, whereas you cannot have engineering with an unlimited funding, unlimited resources, and no deadline. Always remember, you are always going to have end product created in a definite time and cost. Am I right? So if in case you are building a metro line in a city, you are not going to keep building that metro line for 50 years. You will have a timeline of 5 years, 10 years, and you will have a continuous erection process going on with regards to the construction. So there is going to be a unlimited funding scenario in event of a research, and there is always going to be a defined time or a proper timeline and cost with regards to the engineering activity. Always remember this. We all know that. So engineers always work using constraints. Okay, the constraints can be material constraints, geometrical constraints, there can be environmental constraints. All these constraints are supposed to be taken into cost constraints. All these constraints are supposed to be taken into account, and then we are going to work on an engineering project. Okay, can you draw a quick block diagram of this research, engineering, and end product? I'll give you 30 seconds and type in done once you are done writing down this, because it's extremely important to understand what exactly an engineer does. Type in done once you are done writing. Yeah, that's a correct definition. Can we say application of science to develop a useful product? It's not always like that, but yes, 90% of the time it is that is easement to the humans. Sometimes it is more to do with large scale building, or it may not be an easement. For example, you have a Formula One cars. They may not be easement to a human. They are not creating any easy life to a human, but they are more for fun. They are more for competition. They are more for research. All these things are happening. So not all the time, but 90% of the time that's the case. Correct. Gautam says done. Nishat says done. So draw a simple block diagram, research, engineering, and end product, and write down the keywords. Okay. The keywords are unlimited resources, unlimited funding, reference. So research is a reference for an engineering project. That's an important aspect here. And it is extremely important to know that an end user drives an engineer. Okay, that's an important line for everyone, not just for engineers. What is happening? You have end user who is going to an end user drives an engineer. So if there is no requirement to an end user, whatever engineer must have worked on, it's not that useful. Okay, that's an important aspect here. Okay, now let's understand why we need CAE. And before that, so before this slide, let's try and understand what is exactly a model and what is exactly a prototype. Okay, so these two words we always often hear. So for example, if I have Boeing 747, you all know that jumbo jet, right? If I have a Boeing 747 and I want to do a wind tunnel testing, okay, I want to put that in wind tunnel. Is it a model which I put in the wind tunnel, or is it a prototype which I put in the wind tunnel? Type in M if it is a model, if you think that it's a model. Type in P if you think it's a prototype. Let's see. Is it a model, or is it a, Jerry says prototype, Louis says model, Omkar says model, Nikhil says model, Vaibhav says model, Rohit says prototype. Okay. Let the opinions come in. It's okay to be wrong, not a problem. Then who else is there? One second. The scrolling is pretty fast. Prototype. Okay. Nishad says prototype. Madhusudan says prototype. Then we have Ashish says model. Tanmay says prototype. Okay, good. So there are mixed opinions. Now let me define what is exactly a model and what is exactly a prototype. Okay. So a prototype is 1:1 working model. Okay. What is a prototype? It is always 1:1. That means you cannot scale it. And it is always working. So in this case, in the first case where we have a Boeing 747 in wind tunnel, it's first of all, it is scaled version, right? It's scaled down. You cannot put a complete Boeing 747 into a wind tunnel. You will waste too much of an energy. Nobody does that. So it is always a scaled down version. That means it's, first of all, it's not a prototype. The next criteria is it working? It may be, it may not be. But right now we know that it's just an outer shell or outer geometry. So it's not working. And these two criteria will give it a status of a model. Now, in exact same way, okay, in exact same way, if I just go for an RC, radio controlled plane, or radio controlled 747, okay, which is working, which works, right? It flies, but it is still scaled. Still, it is a model. Am I making sense? Okay. So now tell me, left one is a model or right one is the model? I have asked one question. Is left one a model or a right one a model? If your answer is left, then type in L. If your answer is right, then type in right. So is left one a model or right one a model? Okay, left one, Omkar says left one is a model. Is it scaled? Rohit, is it scaled? Luis, is it scaled? No. Left one is not scaled. It's on track. Is it working? Yes. So it is 1:1 and it is working. So left one is not a model. Left one is what? It is a prototype. Are you getting my point, guys? And right one is a model because it may not work. It's 1:1, but it may be just a scaled model in you're using it in an auto expo. You getting my point? So right one is the model, left one is a prototype. So what is prototype? It is 1:1 working model. Is this car working? Yes, you are driving it on a track. That's why I've shown you this picture. Is it 1:1? Yes, you haven't scaled it down, you haven't scaled it up. Whereas the right one may be just a display piece. You can see that. You can actually see there are no vents. Maybe it's electric. You can see there are no mirrors. You don't know whether the doors are going to open or not. And you really don't know whether there is a powertrain inside it or not. Are you with me, guys? Are you understanding the concept of a model and a prototype? Just type in yes if you have understood. Otherwise, I will repeat. Okay, we are here to learn. So I will repeat it. Not a problem. Is it clear? 1:1 working model. Can you take this down in your own words? Okay, what is a model? What is a prototype? Just write down. What is a prototype? It is 1:1 working model. And you can actually see that model, you can scale it, can be scaled. And may or may not work. Okay. A prototype is always working. Model may or may not work, and you can scale it down. So this example is classic example. The Boeing 747 or any wind tunnel testing is also a classic example. Type in done once you are done writing. Yes. Yes. Is model only the represent, in the sense it may be a clay model. You call it as a clay model. You never call it as a clay prototype. You will never see or hear a word called scaled prototype. You will always hear a word called scaled model. Correct? So model can be scaled. Prototype is always 1:1. Model may or may not work. Prototype always works. Now, let's come back to, yes, thanks a lot. Thanks for feedback, guys. Nishad, Gautam, Jerry, Rohit, perfect. Okay, you're done. So let's try and understand this concept. Why exactly we need CAE? The first important concept to understand in this session regarding CAE is why we need CAE. And we created a groundwork. There are two things which we have to remember right now also. What is engineering? This is what we have to remember. And what is a model and a prototype. Is that clear? So we know that an engineering is a bridge between research and end user. We know that model is scalable. It may or may not work, whereas prototype is something which is always working and 1:1. That's what we have understood. Now let's come back to a very detailed discussion about why we need CAE. There is only one answer to it. Why we need CAE? To reduce number of physical prototypes. That's all. It's a single line answer. To reduce number of physical prototypes is a single line answer why we need CAE. What are the effects of reducing number of prototypes? The first effect is effects of reducing number of prototypes. The first effect is you have less product launch time. You will need less product launch time. That means time to market will be less. You will have a faster product if you have lesser physical number of prototypes. Why? Because building a physical prototype is a time consuming and cost consuming task. You must understand that, right? If I am building this kind of a proto, if this is the proto which I want to build, it's a cut and weld process. So there are soft tools. The tools are not finalized. They will have dimensional inaccuracies. And sometimes you have to work with cut and weld processing. So basically, when we are building a prototype, we are typically wasting a lot of energy into building it. And that energy is in form of either money or in form of time. Okay, both ways. So competition may be ahead if they are only using a CAE proto, that is called as virtual proto. Okay, if somebody is using, why we need CAE? If somebody is using only a physical prototype approach for product development, then the product launch time will be much higher. But if you are using CAE approach, what is going to happen? You have less product launch time. That means you are going to have a reduced, I'll just call it as a reduced product launch time, or time to market. That's another word. Time to market. Fine. The second important thing why we need CAE is you have to make sure that cost of testing is in check. Okay, because as you build more number of prototypes, you will really have to build, or you will really have to test those built prototypes for various different criteria. It can be a frontal impact for in event of a crash, vehicle crash test. You will have a frontal impact, rollover, then you will have a roof crush, you will have side impact, pole impact, frontal impact with offset barriers, deformable barriers, rigid barriers. So you will need n number of prototypes for that. And that is just going to involve a lot of cost. Okay, so you'll have a cost of testing which has to be in check. So only for conformity, only to make sure that you, whatever product you have designed and developed You just want to confirm you are going to do a physical test, not for product development. So these two are different things. For developing a product, if you are testing something, that involves a huge cost. I'm talking about physical tests. If you are only using physical testing for product conformity, in that case, you are going to have a lesser cost, because all the non-physical product development, that is virtual product development, happens inside CAE. Are you with me, guys? Type in with you if you are with me. WU. Is this making sense? Yes, Rohit, you have any question? Umakant, you have any question? Go ahead. You can unmute and talk, not a problem. I see your raised hands. Rohit, Umakant, any questions you have? Clear why we need CAE? So anyone asks you a question about why exactly a CAE department is important, not just for automotive, for everyone, you will have a single line answer. The concept has to be clear. Okay, the concept is to reduce number of physical prototypes, and physical prototypes are costly. You can imagine somebody like, let's say, Ather or Simple Energy or TVS iQube or let's say Bajaj. Somebody is building an electric two-wheeler. They take too much of a time to build it because the physical prototypes needs to be ready. Now, the existing time still consists of a CAE modeling, but still it takes too much of a time. Now, you can imagine if it is only physical prototyping process and no CAE involved, it will be 4 or 5 years for one product to get developed, or even Ola for that matter. They're building it quite fast. And why it is possible? Because you have a virtual prototyping technique inbuilt. Fine. Shall we move on? Can we go to this discussion where we are going to talk about various CAE techniques? This is very valuable for anyone who is very new to CAE. Type in, bring it on, BIO. We'll talk about what is exactly CAE consists of, okay, and what are the various things which we are going to do, okay, in CAE. So this is the next part, which is pre-processor, solver, post-processor. We all know in little sense that, but let's first talk about what is exactly CAE. What are the various CAE techniques? So computer aided engineering essentially is not just related to finite element methods. Now, for example, you will have finite element method as one part, then discrete element method, finite difference method, electromagnetism, boundary element methods, that is for acoustics. You will have SPH, you will have chemistry, ICSE, okay. Then you will have ICFD, that is incompressible fluid dynamics. You have CFD, which is a computational fluid dynamic for gases, for everything and whatnot. So basically, when you are, there is an electrical current analysis, I have written that electromagnetism. There is a radar analysis which is inbuilt in ANSYS now. There are many different analysis which can be performed using various CAE methodologies. And what are these methodologies based on? They are all based on numerical methods. Am I right? They are not analytical methods. They are numerical methods. They are approximate methods, but they are making sure that you are getting a very close approximation. Okay, you are getting very close to the reality. You are not actually testing it. You are not physically testing it. You need to be fast, but at the same time, you need to be extremely close to the reality. So what is CAE? CAE is a big umbrella. It's a computer-aided engineering umbrella where all the numerical methods being used to solve a complex problem are taken into account. Is that making sense? Clear, everyone? Okay, it is a chemistry part. Okay, it's a chemical reactions which we can simulate. Okay, So chemical science and something like that. So I'll just give you that brief later, not a problem. So you have chemical reactions being studied. So maybe this, I'll just write it down as chemistry. Okay. So we have all these techniques in CAE. What happens is, due to fierce competition in automotive and various regulatory requirements for an automotive structure, it can be seating system, full vehicle, instrument panels, door panels, everything has to be go under some or the other regulation. It can be a crash regulation, it can be a static testing, it can be fire compliance, it can be NVH, it can be acoustic, it can be fatigue durability. So all these things are going to, or did cost a lot of stir in automotive industry, and most of the methods which I discussed right now come under umbrella of finite element method, which is a stiffness related calculation. So what happened? Okay, what happened actually is you got CAE and FEM treated as almost identical or same. But that's not the case. CAE is a bigger umbrella. FEM is just one of the method. Finite element method is just one of the method to solve a stiffness matrix. Okay. So now what is it that is included in FEM? I will just summarize. What are the things which are included? Crash. Okay. So if I want to do a crash worthiness testing, it is all going to be under FEM. If I want to do NVH, noise, vibration, harshness, it will be under FEM. If I want to do fatigue and durability, it will be under FEM. Okay. If I want to do, let's say, blast analysis for defense structures, it will be under FEM. Is that making sense? So we have, or even, let's say, even moving forward, static analysis, basic static analysis, it will be under FEM. So FEM is very popular. Finite element methods are very popular. They are being used extensively in a competitive environment like automotive structure. And that's why CAE-FEA engineer or CAE-FEA analyst or finite element analyst, these are the posts which are coming up on LinkedIn or on Naukri. It's an interchangeable thing which is being used. Whereas it's not just that. It is discrete element methods for particle material handling. Like you want to transfer some pills from one portion to the other, and you want to understand what happens due to those pills, due to those pharmaceutical pills onto the structure. What is the effect? That's all possible in discrete element method. Okay. Rocky DEM, you must have heard that name. Or in LS-DYNA, there are discrete element methods inbuilt. So all these things are coming under DEM. Finite difference method is CFD. Okay, so it's a basic part of computational fluid dynamic. And we have electromagnetism, which is used for railgun analysis or electromagnetic forming, or even for motor simulation. So last week only LS-DYNA published a video where they simulated a complete DC motor using LS-DYNA, and that was like input as a current and voltage, and then what happens to the RPM when we change different magnetic fields. All these things were simulated in LS-DYNA. Boundary element method is for acoustic. It's an extremely important thing to be done in event of, let's say, auditorium building or something which is noise related to harsh vehicles. For example, mining vehicles, mining trucks, how exactly, or even the aeroplanes. So the noise level has to be some decibels. That is all coming under boundary element. SPH is feared particle hydrodynamics for tank sloshing, for blast, for bird impact. All these things we are going to use SPH for it. Then we have chemistry, where we will do simulate a chemical reaction. ICFD is typically for fluids. So in case you want to check what happens to a ship hull when it is getting crashed onto a big wave in the ocean. So that's an incompressible fluid dynamic. And then we have computational fluid dynamic for coefficient of drag, for flow, for bend, whatever velocity you want to find out. All these things are actually getting comprised inside CAE. Is that making sense? All of you clear? Type in clear if you are clear with this concept. Clear everyone? Learning something? Type in learning L if you are learning something new. Learning? Okay, good. Just a feedback. Okay, just a feedback. It's very important. We are not in a live class, or we are in a live class, but not physically present in front of each other. Okay, now this is what you guys have to focus on. This is the focus slide. So who I am, what is my definition of myself? I am a crashworthiness analysis coach. What is my introduction? I'm a crashworthiness analysis coach. So in a big umbrella called CAE, I'm just looking after this crashworthiness, blast, drop, and impact analysis, which is called as explicit analysis. Okay, which is called as explicit dynamic analysis. So I am an expert in one particular field. Why I'm telling you this? There are many so-called experts on social media or in the overall industry where they suggest you to do many different things at once. So you learn fatigue durability, you also learn crashworthiness, you also learn NVH, you do everything. That's what they say. And what happens? Once you start learning that particular one particular field, you feel so overwhelmed that you will have no chance of going into the other field. So it is better that you choose it, or we call it as an informed decision. Okay, so you take an informed decision. The decision has to be very, very well articulated with regards to the information which is available. So consider this session as an information towards crashworthiness or dynamic analysis. Okay, consider this session as an introduction to crashworthiness analysis. That way you will have a better clarity in your mind. Okay, now for any CAE technique, these three important steps, or I'll call it as modules, are important. What is the meaning of a module? So module is nothing but you have to attach 2 or 3 different things together and then a system works. That's called as a module, right? So preprocessor, solver, and post-processor are the 3 modules. What is the job of a preprocessor? CAD as input and mesh as, or discretization as, output. Along with that, a preprocessor will be able to do material assignment, thickness assignment, connections, boundary conditions, contacts, control cards, database cards, and it has to be submitted. So this complete input file has to be submitted to the solver. Submit. Okay. So what are the preprocessors? You have ANSA, you have primer, you have hypermesh, you have generator from GNS, you have LS prepost. All these are the preprocessors. So they don't solve anything. They may accommodate multiple solvers and they can work on multiple solvers. So for example, if some company is using ANSA, they may be using ANSA for Abacus, ANSA for LS-DYNA, ANSA for Nastran, ANSA for ANSYS. Possible. Same thing. A second company is using Hypermesh for Radios, Hypermesh for OptiStruct, Hypermesh for LS-DYNA, Hypermesh for Abacus. So it's a preprocessor which is going to get adjusted with a solver. Remember that. So preprocessor is an extremely important first step. And that is something which is an inevitable part of a CAE process. Okay, that is what it's an inevitable part of CAE process. Okay, so there are many preprocessors, Rohit, ANSA, Hypermesh, Abacus. There are too many preprocessors, to be very frank. The popular ones are ANSA, Hypermesh, Meshworks, Generator, LS prepost, and then there are inbuilt preprocessors for Abacus, inbuilt preprocessor for ANSYS, inbuilt preprocessor for PAMCrash. So these all are there, but basically the industrial preprocessors are widely used are a primer for final model building, not for meshing, ANSA for meshing, Hypermesh for meshing and model building. And these three comprises of more or less 95 to 96% of the industry. So that's what is happening. Okay. What are the various solvers? So you'll have too many solvers. Again, there is LS-DYNA, there is Abacus, Pamcrash, then you have OptiStruct, Radios, n number of solvers are there. Okay, so the point here is tool is not important. The domain and product is important. So what you have to first decide, you have to decide whether I'm going to go towards automotive. In automotive, whether I'm going to go in CFD or FEM. If it is FEM, whether I'm going to go into crashworthiness, whether I'm going to go into NVH, whether I'm going to go into durability fatigue, or whether I'm going to go into the other part. What was that? Static analysis. Okay, the fourth one. Fine. So this is what has to be decided first. The product has to be decided first. Based on the product, you have to choose the tool. What we do it in a reverse way. Arey yaar, wo that my senior actually chose ANSA. My senior actually chose or he went for a course called hybrid electric vehicle course, or for a course called CAE, advanced CAE diploma, but you really don't know whether it is suitable for you or not. And are you going to get overwhelmed with too much of tool knowledge and less of a product knowledge? That's not going to make you a survivable engineer. How you will survive? You will only survive if your product knowledge is better, and then you add on that product knowledge using a tool. Okay, that's the important thing. Now, what a solver does, it solves using numerical method. Using computers, there will be number of CPUs, there will be RAM, etc., etc., and it just solves. What is a post processor? Post processor is to generate a report, okay, and to check whether your analysis went right or wrong. So it will be checking stresses, checking strains, displacements, velocity, temperature, all these parameters we are going to check using post processor. So all three are important. Okay, preprocessors, solvers, and post processors, all three are important, but a solver will dictate which preprocessor and which post processor you guys are going to use. Okay, it's a solver which is going to dictate that. Always remember this. So you have a preprocessor, you have a post processor, which is dependent on a solver. Are you with me? Clear? Can you take this down? I'll give you 30 seconds to write this down. Okay, you may write down this slide as well. You may write down this slide as well. And you may write down this slide. Okay, I can scroll. CAE processes, various CAE techniques. Okay, what is exactly FEM? Finite element method comprising of. That's what you can write down. And you can also write down what is a preprocessor, what is a solver, what is a post processor. So type in done once you are done writing. Okay, I'm going to give you a fun exercise for 1 minute, just for 1.5 minutes. That's all. But you will have to make sure you are able to unmute and talk. Okay, you are able to unmute and talk. But later, don't worry. If time permits, we will do that. Okay, I'm starting to get a feedback. Gautam says done. Kushwan says done. Umakant says done. Okay, good, nice. Nikhil says done. Rohit says done. Write it down in your own words. Be descriptive. Louis says done. Vaibhav, Omkar, Tanmay, thank you. Amit, okay, good. Wow, amazing. Okay, good, nice. Almost all of you are done now, done writing. Let's move on to the next topic, which is who are the users of LS-DYNA. Now, let's take a simple summary. The first thing was, what is engineering? Okay, let's have a simple summary in 30 seconds. What is engineering? We understood that. End user drives an engineer. Okay, that's an important statement. End user drives an engineer. Always remember this. Then we have why we need CAE. Before that, we discussed what is a model, what is a prototype. So a definition of a prototype is very simple. It is 1:1 working model. And what is CAE? It is a virtual prototype. What is CAE? It is a virtual prototype. That means it works. It is always 1:1. So in CAE, if you have a vehicle built, it will weigh, it will measure exactly as that of the physical car. So if a car in physics or in reality weighs 1.2 ton, in CAE, it must weigh 1.2 ton. If a car length is, let's say, 4 meters or 4.2 meters, in CAE also the car length will be 4.2 meters. Is that making sense? So you'll always have to understand that a physical prototype and a virtual prototype must be as close as possible to each other. Okay. And physical prototype, we don't change too many things. We try to match our virtual prototype to the physical prototype. Okay. We saw this example, which you'll always remember. Then we went forward with CAE process. That's what we discussed: FEM, DEM, finite difference method, CFD, etc., etc. And in CAE, you have finite element method, which is pretty dominant. Everyone uses it, which is used for crashworthiness, blast, impact, drop, NVH, fatigue, durability, static analysis, all these things. So this all comprises of us stiffness related studies. Okay, as simple as that. And then we discussed about the 3 important modules. Okay, so I'll just write it down as modules which are being used in CAE. So the modules are preprocessor, solver, and a post processor. Is that clear up to this point, everyone? Okay. Now, what is exactly LS-DYNA doing? Why it is called as a gold standard in crashworthiness analysis? Okay. So for just to give you a simple idea, LS-DYNA started its life as Dyna 3D in 1973 in Livermore University, California, US. Okay. What was this? This was called as Dyna 3D. And the purpose for this CAE tool or a finite element tool was crashworthiness. So it was not a military project. Remember, the main difference between ANSYS or Nastran or Patran or anything is they were not military projects. They all were military projects, whereas Dyna 3D was specifically to vehicle crash. So it was from day one a civilian project. It was a university project. Now, back then in US, because of some pact or because of some liberal understanding, all the university projects were shareable with the friendly nations. Okay, so the university projects which were happening in US were shareable to everyone. So Dyna 3D is basis for 4 important tools right now which are existing. The first tool is LS-DYNA itself. The second tool is PAMCrash, which is used by Volkswagen Group, which is used by Nissan and Renault. So these 2 big giants are using PAMCrash as their main solver for crashworthiness. And Abacus Explicit. And last, Radios. Okay, so these are the tools which actually started journey as Dyna 3D. Interesting, right? So this was 1973. In 1983, this pact ended, and then everyone started their own solver, and then they excelled on it. So it's not like it's a copy, it's a legit copy, nothing unofficial in it. Everyone knows that. But LS-DYNA went in a different way, PAMCrash went in a different way, Abacus went in a different way, Radios went in a different way. Okay, Radios was a French company, then it was taken over in 2000s, 2004 by Altair, and then it was developed as an Altair suit. So this is all happening. Why LS-DYNA became a gold standard? This is my understanding, but the understanding is very true to the reality. What it is, LS-DYNA from day one was supported by Daimler and Volvo, 2 of biggest names in safety. Okay, LS-DYNA was supported. What do I mean by supported? It's a numerical method, correct? There will be errors. So what Daimler and Volvo did, they supplied LS Dyna with lot of testing data. They supplied LS Dyna with lot of physical testing actual data, and LS Dyna tried to improvise based on the mathematics. They tried to improvise on various material cards, control cards, database cards, contact, all the contact algorithms, all these things were fed by these two giants. Of course, Toyota was a main, but this was the starting point. I'm talking about early 80s, 83, 84, or maybe late early 90s, early 80s, early 90s, when crashworthiness was not a very big important thing. Okay, so Daimler and Volvo were the key contributors. Then came Toyota as a biggest contributor later. Okay, so Toyota extensively uses LS Dyna, Volvo extensively uses LS Dyna, Daimler extensively uses LS Dyna. Whole of the Ford was using LS Dyna, and then they switched to Radios for some time, and then they again came back to LS Dyna. Okay, so Ford is using LS Dyna. Honda, North America is using LS Dyna, but Japan is not using LS Dyna. There may be some different issues. As I said earlier, Volkswagen, complete Volkswagen group is using PAMcrash. Complete Renault Nissan is using PAMcrash. This Abacus Explicit was exclusively used by one group, BMW, but 6 months ago they also switched to LS Dyna. So now BMW is also using BMW Group. So it's BMW, Mini, Rolls-Royce, everyone. So they are all using LS Dyna. Tata Motors uses LS Dyna, Mahindra uses LS Dyna, Maruti or Suzuki uses LS Dyna. So most of the OEMs, almost 90% of the OEMs are using LS Dyna as their main explicit dynamic solver. Okay, interesting, right? A little brief I just wanted to give. So where it started, who are the users of LS Dyna? The users of LS Dyna in automotive world are almost everyone. Now what happens? The tier one suppliers like Magna Group, or let's say you have Lear or Adient or Faurecia or Grupo Antolin, or you'll have Segula Tech or Tecozem, all these service providers which are tier one suppliers, they are using LS Dyna because customer is using LS Dyna, right? Tesla uses LS Dyna. So coming to the electric cars, Tesla uses LS Dyna, Porsche uses, okay, Porsche is a group which is being associated with VW. So they are using all the things with regards to PAMcrash, but for battery analysis, they are using LS Dyna. Again, now coming to the aviation, for bird strike and for blade contamination, these are the two extremely important tests to be carried out on any aeroplane: bird strike and blade contamination. What is happening in bird strike? If there is a takeoff or a landing, doesn't happen at higher altitude. It only happens at when you just take off or when you are landing. So bird strike is a very common phenomena in fighter jets, in civilian jets, it doesn't matter. So this bird strike is analyzed using LS Dyna everywhere. Okay, commercially, I'm talking about commercial applications. The second is blade contamination. That means if there is a blade, there is a fan which is rotating, and if there is one blade which gets disintegrated inside the compartment, that explosion has to be simulated. And Airbus, Rolls-Royce, everyone uses Pratt & Whitney, GE, Kaveri engine, GTRE, our own GTRE. They all are using LS Dyna for blade contamination as well as bird strike. Okay, that's automotive. For railways, there are few companies who use extensively Radios. Okay, for example, PT Inka is there in Indonesia. They are using Radios for their crash of the railway wagons as well as engines. So engine is not that critical. The wagons are more important. The coaches are more important because there you have occupants. So this is something which is happening with railways. And for defense, almost 90% plus domination is through LS Dyna. The blast, what we do as a small company, we also extensively use LS Dyna for blast analysis, for high speed impact. When I say high speed, it is Mach 2, Mach 3. That is 3 times the speed of sound or 2 times the speed of sound. Or even for very, what you can say, underwater blast, mine blast, blast for a personnel carrier, all these things, FICV, etc., etc. We use LS-DYNA as an extensive solvent. Okay. So these are some of the applications I just want to show you. Before that, I'll just explain you what is exactly a dynamic load. Okay. That is something which is missing. So first I will explain you the dynamic load. I think where it is, I'll add a slide. Don't worry. I'll explain your dynamic load, and that way you will understand the applications in a clearer way. Okay. So give me just 1 second. Yeah, here you go. So the definition of dynamic load is load which changes, its magnitude and or direction with respect to time is called as a dynamic load. Can you take down this definition as it is? Don't do any alteration. Just take down this definition as it is. What is a dynamic load? It is a load which changes its magnitude and or direction. So this is very important. So either you have direction change or you have magnitude change, still it is a dynamic load. If you have both direction as well as magnitude changing, it's a dynamic load anyway. Done. I've been done if you have done taking down this definition. Okay, great. Fine. Now let's talk about implicit and explicit. Okay, I'm not going to go in detail because we have a full session on implicit and explicit when we start. But I'll just give you a simple understanding. What is an explicit code? Explicit code is a code which uses, or a method which uses direct solving algorithm for dynamic load problems. Okay. So what is an explicit code? It is a method which uses direct solving algorithm. So there are many direct solving methods. You have Taylor series as the foundational method. Then on Taylor series, you have central difference, forward difference, backward difference, all these things. And it basically uses a series. So it's not an iterative method. So if you are using an iterative method to solve a static problem, it is called as an implicit code. Okay. So there is a complete 1 hour live session. I teach it live. So that's not going to be a problem. It's a complete 1 hour, 1.5 hour live session where we talk extensively about explicit code and implicit code. This is just for your understanding. What is explicit? What is implicit? So explicit code is a method which uses direct solving algorithm to solve a dynamic load problem. Is that fine? Done. Shall I change this slide? Can I move on? Can you please give example for direction change in dynamic load? Yeah, there are too many examples. You have an imbalanced shaft. So if I draw a figure, okay, good that you asked. 1 second. Yeah. So if I just go for a shaft and a pulley arrangement. So let's say this is my shaft. This is a pulley mounted on it. Okay, this is a cross section. Fine. And if it is rotating at a constant RPM, omega equal to, let's say, 300 RPM for that matter. And this is being fixed in a bearing. Fixed in the sense, it is only allowed to rotate. That's all. It's in the bearing. If the mass of this pulley is, let's say, 100 kilogram, I'll put a value here. And it is rotating at 300 RPM. If it is 100% balanced system, then it is a pure static load. Am I right? Correct? You only have mass, that's all. And it's a fixed beam where you have a center load and it's a simple static load. But as soon as you add, let's say I go for a side view here. So let me just delete this. So if I just add a side view here, okay, for a pulley, And if I add an imbalance mass, which is at radius r and mass as m1, there is going to be a centrifugal force which is equal to m r omega square, or m dash r omega square. Am I right? What is happening, guys? It is continuously changing its direction, not the magnitude. The magnitude remains mr omega square, but it is continuously changing its direction of pull. Is this clear? Who asked this question? Sai, right? Sai, is this clear? What is change in direction means? Okay, good. Perfect. So let's talk about some applications. Okay, let's talk about some applications. So I discussed these applications earlier. You have a rigid. So this is a rigid barrier. Okay, this is a rigid barrier, and it's a small offset rigid barrier. It's called as SORB, SORB test. Small offset rigid barrier. Only 25% offset is there, and a rigid barrier is being introduced. It's stationary, and you hit on it. It's like depicting a corner wall, or it's like you hitting on a corner of a building, which is quite possible in urban scenarios. Then you have various knee impact situations, head impact situations. All these things are being taken care in LS-DYNA. So whatever images you see are in-house images of LS-DYNA application. So you can actually see this as a pedestrian impact. Okay, what is important here? The vehicle structure is not important. What happens to the pedestrian? This is a representation of a leg. And what happens to the tibia? What happens to the femur bone? All these things are important. So whatever you see here, this is called as a femur bone. Okay, this is called as tibia. So these are the bones which are extremely important for human structural integrity. Otherwise, you will have a large fracture and may not be recoverable. That's possible. So pedestrian safety is another area. Then if I just play some videos with regards to seating system, you have a seat with frontal impact, without seat, frontal impact with seat belt, and you can see the difference, what is going to happen. And this is all in LS-DYNA. This is a frontal impact representation. It's a static equivalent. We call it as static equivalent of dynamic test. Not all tests are carried out like that. This is a pure dynamic time domain test. Okay, this is a pure time domain test. So if it is in physics, if it is happening in 10 milliseconds, it will be in 10 milliseconds here also. Okay, so basically you are matching the time. It's all explicit dynamic, and that is what we are going to learn. So the intention of this program is to make you independent in solving LS-DYNA. Okay, to make you independent in solving LS-DYNA problems. That's very simple. You have a rollover test, which is as per AIS 031. Also, this AIS 031 is a derivative of ECE, that is Economic Commission of Europe, R66. It's a derivative of ECE R66. So what is an assumption? If there is a cornering at high speed, the bus which is having a higher CG is going to roll over. And this, what you see as a red trapezoid, this is supposed to be a passenger zone. And there should not be any intrusion inside the passenger zone from the structural side. Okay, so the vehicle structure has to be so intact that there should not be any intrusion in the passenger zone. So the passengers should remain in a confined space, and there should not be anything flying away, anything intruding, anything as a bar or a metallic or a non-metallic part flying inside the passenger. That's the regulation. And unless you comply to this regulation, you will not be able to launch your bus onto the road. Okay, so AIS 031 is a compliance. It's not optional. It's not optional like NCAP. New car assessment program is like Google review. So if you don't have a Google review, you can still operate as a business. But if you are having compliance done, then this is all going to be very important. Okay. Defense engineering. So this is an under vehicle blast, mine blast simulation without hull, and we added a hull inside. So these images are shareable. This is like a open domain. So this file, this complete runnable input deck, you can find on George Washington University. credit to George Washington University and NCAC, which is called as National Crash Analysis Center. Okay, so this is an open data. This is not my data, but we did a test using this particular mine blast using a hull. So this hull we added, and in the earlier case, if you have seen, there is no, that green hull is not present. Okay, so we tested, we tried, we understood what is going to happen with the hull and without hull. All these things we did in-house. This was an MTech project back in 2018, I think. So this is another commercial project which we carried out. Of course, data is different. The data is completely wrong, or wrong in the sense modified. And this is an autonomous vehicle. So you can see example of application of LS-DYNA when the product gets developed. So this is an autonomous vehicle. This carries no person. It's an unmanned vehicle. It is for troop supplies. So if I want to supply food or ammunition or anything on field, I'm just going to program this vehicle and it will find its path. It's amphibious, so it floats in water. It is quite what you can say. It's a four-wheel drive vehicle because it has 4 different motors. The important aspect is it should be serviceable in the field. That means if there is something which is happening, okay, if there is something which is happening to the vehicle, it should be serviceable in the field. Okay, guys, I think my camera gone, right? Can you see me? Visible, not visible? No. Gone, right? Oh, okay. 1 second. I'm visible, right? It's pretty small. Why? Okay, doesn't matter. Fine. So this is an autonomous vehicle which we did carried out as a test. Okay, the important aspect here was a user replaceable bumper. That was the main analysis part. So as you can see here, there is a bumper which is getting deformed when it hits onto the rigid wall. So this user replaceable bumper, that is what we designed using LS-DYNA. That is what we understood using LS-DYNA. Okay, that's an important aspect. So this is a civil defense domain where civil engineering. So I don't want to call it as a civil defense. It's a civil engineering project where you have a bunker made up of concrete and it penetrates. Okay, the bunker has to be penetration resistant. Okay, it should not be resisting, or it should not be allowing a projectile to enter into it. Okay, that is called as a penetration resisting bunker. Fine. This is one thing. The other thing is what we use typically for defense is electromagnetics. Okay, for railgun analysis, for various different studies, all these things we do that. So this was the earlier discussion, but now you can see various graphs with regards to chest acceleration or head acceleration of a dummy. What happens to the head acceleration? What happens to the chest acceleration if there is a hull and if there is no hull? And we saw that there is a tremendous amount of reduction in the accelerations when we put a hull or when we introduce a hull in. Okay, now this is the post-processor task. This is the post-processor task. This is post-processor task. What is it? Stresses, strain, displacement, various graphs, graphical representation. So it is extremely important that you have a clear understanding of what is exactly a post-processor doing, what is exactly a pre-processor doing. Okay, this has to be, there has to be a very clear understanding. Okay, the next important thing is application wise, this is what you can say, a very interesting application. This is as per a regulation. Again, this is called as PAS 68. It's a UK regulation. You have ASTM, which is a US regulation, and this is called as a crash rated gate, CRG. It is classified as a vehicle security barrier. So for high impact areas like nuclear power plant or thermal power plant or a dam or Rashtrapati Bhavan or let's say an embassy, you will have to make sure that you are having this kind of a complete or clear gate which can resist a 7.5 ton mass, okay, at 80 kilometers per hour. So if this truck hits at 80 kilometers per hour on this gate, it should still be able to stop that vehicle. Okay, and this is what we analyzed. Again, the geometry is not to the scale. Geometry is not from customer side. This is all what we assumed. So this is how it looks like. It's as per various regulations, and there is a direct application of LS Dyna here. Any questions, guys? Interesting? Type in interesting if this is interesting. Interesting, not interesting? You got bored? No, right? Yeah, it's very interesting and it's growing. It's growing like hell. The point here is, if you are having a correct mentor, you will grow like hell. Okay. And when I say mentor, I really mean someone who is working in the industry, not a next batch pass out. I'm working in LS Dyna since year 2005. 16th August 2005 was my joining date in Tata Johnson Control. Since day one, I'm working in LS Dyna till now. Okay, so I can call myself as a proper mentor because I know ifs and buts of LS Dyna. I know what happens in industry. I know what is the mentoring which is needed. Okay, so I'm not marketing myself, but I'm just going to put a fact in front of you that there are people who are claiming that they teach LS Dyna, but they are actually only teaching the tool. They are not teaching what happens inside it. They are not teaching what is exactly required to be understood. Okay, so good. It's nice that you found it interesting. Now, what is it that we cover? Let's come to a proper conclusion. Only 10 minutes left, and then it will be an open question and answer again. So live LS Dyna foundation course. Okay, because it's a foundation course, it's going to be the most lengthy. It's going to take most of the time. And what is it that is included in the foundation course? Every single bit. Now I'm going to share this presentation with you. I'm also going to share with you guys the fee structure and the other bit in a little while. But what I want you to pay attention to is the content which is there in the overall session sequence. Okay, so you have types of materials, basics of LS Dyna, solver, history, etc., etc. Time step control. This is all going to be in a hybrid format, live plus recorded. So every single live session gets recorded. Okay, every single live session gets recorded and it gets uploaded, and you will be able to see it for n number of times, any number of times, for unlimited period. Okay, there is no limit to it. You can watch it for a lifetime, not a big deal. And then you have boundary condition, setting up the control cards, reading procedure for LS Dyna manual. It's a 3000 page manual. LS Dyna manual is not a small thing. It's a 3000 page manual. You should have a clear guide like me to explore LS Dyna, to explore, to make sure that you are actually working using that tool. Basics of engineering, it's a complete 40 hours course, which is going to be bonus for you. I'll explain you the bonus courses. There are going to be 7. So here it is short. I just ended it with 4 models, but we are actually building, since batch 10, we are building 7 different models in LS Dyna independently. So I'm guiding you, but you are supposed to build the models. I'm not going to spoon feed, and you will have to create an iteration in that particular model. So that's the intention here. Post-processing of all models, how to find stress, what is a stress-based failure, what is a strain-based failure, what is a displacement finding out methodology. All these things we are going to do in a post-processing part. Understanding CAE tasks. So guys, just a minute. I'll just switch my camera to my laptop camera. Yeah, visible, right? Yeah. So I think my DSLR got heated up due to continuous back-to-back sessions, maybe. So this is my laptop camera. I hope you are able to see it, right? It's visible, correct? Okay. So you have post-processing session, understandings of CAE task and failure evaluation. Nobody teaches this. What is a failure? You have to understand failure based on application. Okay, if you are not having an application in front of you, you will never be able to recognize a failure. Okay, very simple. Seating system, product domain. Now, this I'm going to explain you in a little bit. Here you go. So this is one of the student. I'll just give you a background. His name is Arun. Okay, he is he's Arun Pradeep. Okay, his full name is Arun Pradeep. He is a naval officer. Okay, he's serving in Indian Navy, and he is doing PhD at my location. So I'm helping him to do his PhD. I also helped him to complete his MTech. Okay, so Arun Pradeep is actually working in Navy, and he is situated in DIIT, that is Defense Institute of Armament Technology in Pune. So let's hear his feedback. Let me just know whether you are able to see the hear the audio.
Pradeep, I stay.
Audible? Am I sharing? Yeah. Yeah, I'm sharing the audio. Yes, there you go.
Lonavala in near to Pune, and I have underwent LS Dyna course, online course during this lockdown through Elino, and Mr. Nachiket was our instructor, and really I learned a lot from this online program of LS Dyna. I really understood the basics on which the LS Dyna is built, and realized the fact that it is not the software which I need to learn, it is the mechanical basics which I need to learn, and which I should have the strong foundation more than the software, because software runs just basically on the physics and the mechanical theories on which are already framed, which everyone should realize, and I realized it after undergoing this course. And the key takeaway from this is you should have a strong mechanical engineering foundation to understand the software. And I really enjoyed the post-processing sessions, and I really enjoyed the model checking sessions and problem solving and online hands-on sessions which were conducted during the program were really interesting, which I enjoyed the most and which I learned a lot. And finally, I strongly recommend this course for all the aspirants who are willing to learn LS Dyna. You should go through this course through Elino, because
All right. So just wanted to give you a simple glimpse of what we cover. These are various other feedbacks where people got placed. They keep on bugging me that, okay, sir, I got a placement. The package is good. All these things are being covered. I'll share this presentation with you for future references. The point here is, okay, basically the theoretical sessions, okay, so what Rohit says are very detailed. Why? Because if you are not very good in theory, there are chances that you are going to miss a lot of things in an interview. Okay, I don't want to do that. That's why the theory points are very detailed. And the practical sessions, I will be in front of you to guide you where you are making mistakes, okay, or where you need a correction. All these things are going to go hand in hand. So it's like we all are sitting in one classroom, but in a virtual world. Okay, that's just for everyone's easement, and it's going to be very, very cost effective. Okay, so let's come to the next point. What are the various bonus classes? So there are 5 bonus classes. The first bonus is complete basics of engineering session of 40 hours. It's a session which is like a discussion session. It's not one-way communication. Again, it's a discussion session. You will have a lifetime access for it. You can access it from anywhere. Okay, you can access it from your laptop, desktop, iPad, tablet, mobile, anywhere. The next session is LS pre-post. It's a pre and post processor. It's completely free for everyone to use. Okay, so LS pre-post is a complete free tool for everyone to use, and that is a bonus for 3,150 rupees. It's the cost of LS pre-post for you guys is 0. I'll just give you a link. You can download it officially, and you can start using it. Third bonus is seating system product training, which is my own domain. Okay, this is where I worked in or still working in for 16, 17 years now. And what is exactly a seat? What are the types of seat? What is the purpose of a seat? How exactly the tests are carried out? What are the various methodologies being used to generate a seating system report? All these things we are going to talk. It's almost 18 to 20 hours of sessions. Again, it's a lifetime access. You don't have to worry about the access. You will always get it on day one as soon as you enroll. This is the fourth bonus session, which is about CIWC, which is crack interview with confidence. Okay, as name suggests, it is a very simple thing. Basically, I will be guiding you to make sure you are exceeding your own expectations in an interview. It's a live session. The tickets are typically $11.99, but it's going to be free for you guys. Okay, it's going to be included bonus for you. And the fifth bonus for 60 hours is for someone who wants to learn CAD. Okay, it's an extensive CAD course. It's a bonus. Fusion 360, which is free for students to access. Anyone can access it for non-commercial purpose. As LNO, we have a license for it. Okay, so we have licenses for LS-DYNA, we have licenses for Hypermesh, we have licenses for Fusion 360. LS Prepose doesn't need a license. But for you, all three are free. That's the beauty of it. LS-DYNA is free access till 128,000 nodes. Hypermesh is a free access through Altair University, and LS Prepost is a free access, and Fusion 360 is a free access. So there is no need of downloading any pirated copy. You know, no need to have anything which is unofficial. So this is something which is going to be 5 bonus classes. The sum of all these bonus classes is 15,846. So these are the bonus classes which I'm going to give you free. If you want to join, purchase them individually, they will cost you 15,846 rupees. You have to decide in 4 or 5 days, to be very frank. On 18th, we are going to start our first session, which is Friday, or 19th. I think it is 19th. Yes, 19th is a Friday. You have time till 19th of November. Okay, you have time till 19th of November. Don't worry. What you have to decide? You have to decide whether you are going to join this course, LS-DYNA course, with a complete bonus package of 5 different courses. We do have a CAE master course where we will have a seating system detailed course. We'll have a Hypermesh detailed course, but I would recommend you guys to only go with this first course, and later you can join Hypermesh as well. Okay, it's a module, so you can add it later. It's not going to be too much of a cost. LS-DYNA Foundation plus 5 bonus classes for next, it's not 96, it's going to be more than that. For 5 days, I'll call it. For 5 days, it is going to be not 32,999, but it is going to be 29,999. Okay. So there is going to be a flat discount of 3,000 rupees. And you are supposed to join within 5 days, and you will get all the access to the courses for lifetime. All the classes happen on weekends. So if I just want to explain you how exactly we work, all our weekend classes, they are live. Okay. Every single class gets recorded. Software access, I'm going to guide you, and it's all free officially. Okay, free officially. I'm not giving you any pirated session link. Okay, the thing is, after this course, you will get a placement assistance. Okay, and there is no limit to the placement assistance. That means you are not limited to the not limited to 1 or 2 sessions. My recommendation is you should have a Hypermesh or an ANSA knowledge if you are looking for placements, because a pre-processor is extremely important. What we are teaching you is a solver and a post-processor part. Typically what happens, why we are doing this breakup is, typically in colleges, you get to know about a preprocessor, you get to know about hypermesh, you get to know about ANSA maybe. So that's why we have made 2 break points here. Now we do have a very extensive full-fledged course which is called as CAE Master Program, which includes all these courses. So whatever course I have mentioned right now, LS-DYNA Foundation plus 5 bonus plus detailed hypermesh and plus CAE for seating system. That's a very, very important course for freshers. Okay, because you will become a product expert as soon as you go for CAE for seating system. So this course is 68,999 on offer. Okay, that's the offer which is having. But my recommendation for starters is to go for this course only. LS-DYNA Foundation plus 5 bonus classes, and that will be more than sufficient. As I said, timings are going to be over weekends. We decide mutual timings. So when we meet on Friday 19th, we are going to decide the timing. Okay, typically the timings will be 4 p.m. or 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. So it is typically in the evening, because there are few people who join from different continents. Some people join from US, some people join from Germany, some people join from Japan. So last batch we have almost 6 students from Japan. So that's something which happens. So the time zone has to be adjusted. So Friday's discussion is very important, where we all will discuss about it. Okay, this is the link. Okay, payment link. I'll just give you this payment. You can do credit card, debit card payments. You can convert it on EMI. In the chat box, you can actually see that. There you go. And the duration of this course is 12 weeks. That is 3 months approximately. Okay, the duration of this course is 12 weeks. That is approximately 3 months. Okay, this foundation course plus 5 bonus classes. And for the complete CAE master course, it's going to be 24 weeks, which is almost 6 months. Okay, and once you are finished, then only you are going to get an opportunity to go for an interview. We will never recommend you to go for an interview with an unfinished environment. Okay, and the welcome session, as I said, it's getting modified. The welcome session is 19th of November, 9 p.m. Okay, because it's a working day, so I don't want to mess around. It's a non-technical welcome session for everyone. As I said, already there are 6 people who have enrolled for batch 19. The WhatsApp group is already there. I have given access to LS Prepost. I have given access to Basics of Engineering. I have given access to Fusion 360. I have given access to the seating system course. And the crack interview with confidence course is going to happen live. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for attending so patiently, so calm and quiet manner. The feedbacks were excellent, and the stage is open for you to ask any question you have. Okay, any damn question you have, just ask me. You can unmute and talk, not a problem. Okay, I'm there. Prior knowledge, no prior knowledge required. You can be a blank slate. Only the interest is important. So you should have a full interest in structural analysis. You should have interest in strength of material. You should have interest in, let's say, design of machine elements. You should have interest in 3D models. That interest is more than sufficient. The knowledge is our responsibility. We will supply you all the knowledge. So Nishat, for you, fresher like you, I highly recommend for full course. I highly recommend that you go through the full process of crashworthiness testing, including a seating system testing. And that way you will be a better employable engineer. Or even if you want to pursue your post-graduation outside, this experience is going to give you a lot of leverage when you actually search for jobs outside. Okay, that's an important feedback which I want to give. Okay, good question. Sai, I want to know what LNO is, elements and nodes. It's elements and nodes. So we are very focused in CAE. So it's elements and nodes. A good question. There is no specific abbreviation as such, but it's elements and nodes. So it has no meaning. Madhusudan, the payment is dependent on, if you are using credit card, you can convert it on EMI. If you are joining a full course, which is a CAE master course of 68,999, you can have two payments. But for this course, which is 29,999, you have to pay in one installment. Okay. So that can be converted into EMI on credit card. The link which I gave you, Razorpay link, that link is going to have all the options of debit credit cards, and even UPI. You can do UPI transfer, you can do anything you wish to do. Okay, so two installments we allowed for the full course, 68,999 divided by 2. First installment you have to pay now, and the next installment you can pay in 1.5 months, that is 45 days. Is it a normal talk that to get a job in CAE domain? No, it's a myth. I have placed more BTech students, BTech students than MTech students in CAE in last 8 years. So believe me, you have to trust me that it's nothing to do with MTech or BTech, doesn't matter. The minimum qualification is BE. I would highly request you guys to only do the BTech course. Do this course instead of master. You will be learning exactly the same thing in the master, but in a very fast time here at LNO, and you will be job ready. Okay. No need of doing an MTech in this case. It's a normal talk, but it's not necessary. No extra advantage for any MTech guy, for sure. Okay, good. Jerry is asking, is it possible for a fresher? Yes. Yes. See, now this is very specific, but they will see the trait, whether you are an analytical engineer or not. Are you an analytical person or not? Nobody is going to give you a solver job from day one. Okay. I also worked for 6 months in Medina and Hypermesh on meshing in my own organization, Tata Johnson Control. Now it is called Adient. The point is, you should be progressing. Okay. You should not be joining an organization which only does meshing job. Then it's a regression. But if you are doing, or if you are joining a company which does everything, pre-processor, solver, post-processor, report, model building, or model suggestions, no need to worry about whether it's a meshing job or not. Everyone starts with a meshing job at the beginning. In generator design, what is the extra benefit? Rohit, the benefit as such is, you know, the design process. Okay. To be very frank, you will have a working knowledge of a design, how exactly a design department works. What the communication is a big advantage, because you have already worked in this field. The advantage of communication. So you know how to handle team, you know how to actually talk to the people, all these things. So that's the only advantage. As far as generator design is concerned, crashworthiness and generator have no intermatching in them, to be very frank. Okay. Yes, Sai is asking what is current situation of CA India mainly for freshers. It's very good. If you are a good mechanical engineer, forget about CAE, forget about CAD. If you know the concepts very well, if you are a good mechanical engineer, if you know basics very well, you have a very, very bright future. We placed, I'm not joking, we placed all 9 freshers from previous to previous batch, that is batch 17, in ADIADA. Okay, I will be very open to you where we are actually placing students, and it's on their payroll, nothing to do with LNO. In ADIADA, a Spanish company, Spanish multinational, all of them got a starting package of 4.2 lakhs per annum. Freshers, okay, I'm talking about freshers, but they were good in LS Dyna, they were good in basics. I made sure that they are prepared. So it's very, very important that you should be good in basics, first of all. Can I shift my career in CAE with my previous gap and experience? Yes. Okay, to be very specific to you, Rohit, because I know your case. Otherwise, I frankly tell people not to try with CAE. Okay, if you have a 5-year experience in CAD, I will just simply tell them that this is not a piece of cake for you. You will be competing with freshers. 1 or 2 years or 3 years of experience is perfectly fine. The gap situation is so funny nowadays that people really are not caring too much about your professional or personal gaps because of COVID, maybe. But they are very considerate nowadays. The interviewers don't ask too many questions with regards to your gap unless it is unreasonable. So if you have an unreasonable gap of 10 years, you did nothing, then yes, of course, it's an alarming situation. But if it is a reasonable gap, you prepared for, let's say, competitive exams, you prepared for GATE, you prepared for IELTS, TOEFL, etc., etc. People will consider that, okay, 1 or 2 years is not a big deal. If you are good in application, if you have developed your skills, we are okay to have you. Okay, that's the case. Vaibhav, Saturday till what time you work? Because we can start little late. If it is 7 p.m., we can always start with 7 p.m. class. I don't know how much time you work, but that is an alternative. So once you join, we can actually discuss these things and we make sure that everyone attends live. Yeah, exactly. So we can start at 7 p.m. We can start at 6:30. All these things are possible once we discuss. Once you are willing to join, I'm willing to help you. I'm willing to support you guys. Okay, good. Any further questions, guys? Don't take too much time to join. Make sure you join as at the earliest. It's not a big payment which I'm asking. The reason is the amount of knowledge which I'm going to share is extremely valuable. This is not my money making business. I'm keeping costs down because it is all online. I have my own office. Rohit knows it. All these things are possible, but the cost is very reasonable. Okay, and the amount of knowledge you are going to get is just phenomenal. Would it be possible to have a talk over phone with me for a few minutes after session? I have few more things to discuss. I have a specific list of question. Perfect. Yeah. My WhatsApp number for everyone, no problem. We can talk right now. My WhatsApp number is this one. Okay, for everyone. I only have one number, and that's the only number which I have for WhatsApp also. 9881732144. So you can just add me in your WhatsApp list, save my number and give me a call. We can talk. I just want to appreciate. Oh, okay. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks for kind word that encourages me. Is there any difference in using LS-DYNA and automotive? No, there is not much difference as far as tool is concerned, but product is completely different. The boundary conditions are different, the product is different, the materials are different, the way you manufacture it is different. Of course, that's a different story. For sure, it's a different one. Okay. Nice. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for attending. It was amazing to have you all. Can we have a group selfie quick? Can you switch on your videos just for 1 second? And I'll just have a print screen and then we can go off. Oh, wow. Nice to see you, Louis. Gautam, yep, amazing. Vishnu. All right. I think Tanmay, Ashish, Anish, I'm sorry. Ajay, you're there. Okay. Everyone is combing their hair after they switch on the video. Yeah, I also do that. So it's very normal. Makant, Suryadi, Jerry, Anish, I don't know. Yeah, perfect. Okay, I'll just have a selfie. Guys, have a smile. Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for attending, guys. And I hope to see you all in LS-DYNA session. It's going to be super fun, super useful, and it will be a life learning session for you. Okay. Bye. Have a good day. Stay safe.